If there's something I feel is falling out of favour in recent times, it's the casual desktop game. The kind of thing you can sit and play for a bit, then put back down again. No long load times, no getting dragged into a 20-minute match, no ongoing progression to worry about, and you can quickly switch to something else if you need to, consequence-free. A self-contained game that you can pick up or put down as desire or deadlines dictate. I feel like this type of game really came into prominence in the Windows 3.1 era, with Microsoft Solitaire right at the forefront. Technically that game was introduced in Windows 3.0, but people barely remember 3.1 these days, let alone its immediate predecessor. Anyway, we'd had time-wasting games since probably the start of the MS-DOS days. Difference was, with a single tasking operating system, you couldn't easily switch over to something else and back again. You'd have to quit one program to start another, and there's no quick way to do that when you hear footsteps approaching your cubicle. That's why so many games of the time included a boss key function. One keystroke and your computer would look like it was doing regular work instead of shirking your duties. Or in the case of some games, outright troll you, help put your job at risk, and even hammer home just how little work you were doing. Less of an issue in the multitasking environment of Windows, where a quick minimize or alt-tab would make you look like a productive worker bee again in an instant. Unless it was playing some really obvious music or something, but then again, why would an Office PC have a sound card installed? Speaking of which, the game I'm talking about today has no music of its own, so I'm doing my usual tactic of playing random music from games released in the same year. Anyway, I was recently introduced to one of these desktop games, one by the name of JOSHO, made by one Zach Stern in 1992. So if you don't find this video particularly compelling, it's all Resulka's fault. Tee-hee. JOSHO is a word guessing game. JOSHO is also your opponent. JOSHO's gender remains unspecified. Here's how the game is played. You pick a 5-letter word, so does JOSHO. You take turns guessing what your opponent's word is. If you guess correctly, you win. If not, you get told how many letters in your guess are present in your opponent's word, a bit like an alphabet-based version of the old Mastermind game with the coloured balls and everything. To clarify, that's how many letters in one word match the other. For example, if the word to guess is deeds and you guess lives, that's 2 matches, E and S. If you guess fleas, that's 3 matches, the S and both of the E's. It's not a complex game, and yet it's strangely compelling. One odd aspect is that JOSHO doesn't ask your word up front, you just need to keep it memorised. I usually make my secret word my first guess. JOSHO isn't smart enough to figure that particular scheme out, but they are smart enough to realise when you've cheated, or at least to ask you for your word when they've run out of guesses. And because I'm really bad at quickly figuring out how many letters match between words, I've seen this screen quite a lot. I can only assume that not asking for your word is the game showing off a little, proving it can not only guess your word correctly, but knows when you've given it duff answers. Personally, I'd have been quite happy to assume that the game won't cheat, so I didn't have to match up the letters myself and risk losing a game from my own lack of attention. Or if you wanted to uphold this JOSHO magic JOSHO no cheat thing, it could have a separate label where the letters of JOSHO's guesses are rearranged into alphabetical order so I can line up the matching letters easier. Anyway, that's just me redesigning a game UI from 1992. Kinda feels like low-hanging fruit considering our UI design paradigms at the time were only stretching to let's take advantage of everything Windows 3 offers for no particular reason. If you want another example of that, have a look at my review of Metal Marines. So how does JOSHO find out which 5-letter word you've picked? Slowly, that's how. See that alphabet above the word list? You can specify which letters you want to show up in the suggested words and which letters you absolutely don't want to see, at which point the word list starts filling up. Slowly. At least it does when running on DOSBox X, which I believe more strictly emulates an era-accurate computer, and I haven't bothered to try and switch it to a faster setting. That's why the ideal guesses to make are the ones where none of the letters match. That way you can blacklist all those letters and narrow down the suggested word list immensely. For whatever reason, Epoch, Acock, and Demon seem to work quite well for me. Anyway, to more accurately state how JOSHO makes their guesses, it uses a dictionary of 3,951 words, stored in a plain text file. Sorry Mr. Stern, but naming the file with a .dic extension wasn't much of a disguise. This also means you're limited to entering 5-letter guesses that are in this set. The game doesn't accept anything else. Like Mavis Beacon before, the file is hand editable, so Well, I think I'll let your own imaginations run wild this time round. Although I will say JOSHO came close to beating me by guessing bunts. Also, like Mavis speaking, the word list makes for some interesting reading, like abaft. What in the name of Aslan's arse does that mean? Some of the words are odd sounding yet actually have reasonable definitions, like abeam, admix or agon. But abaft? Seriously, no idea. Not a Scooby. 0 Scoobies found. Still, it's impressive to me how this ancient software determines the best guess for your word, as it usually takes less than 6 guesses overall. And if I'd been living in America at the time, I could have sent off for the source code. Something tells me I'd have to have sent more than a stamp for transatlantic post. Since I may never know the truth, I'll have to think up some other possibilities for why this word lookup is so damn slow. Could be something obvious, like constantly closing and reopening the text file, although I don't think it would be too much trouble to keep a 28 kilobyte file in memory and negate more than one file read. This is where my programmer mind starts waking up. My guess would be that the code creates a little map of all the letters in the alphabet with a number for each, starting at 0. FYI, if you're a C# or Java programmer, rather than C or C++, replace the word map with dictionary in this segment and it'll probably make more sense. Then the code would go through each guess JOSHO has made so far, take the number of matches found for that word, and add that number to the letters in the map. Ergo, the more matching letters a word has, the more likely those letters are to be correct. Once that's done, find the top 5 most used letters and find words which contain those letters. If a word is found, make a guess with it. If not, remove the least likely of the top 5, i.e. pick the top 4 most popular letters, and try again. Obviously, the code would also need to blacklist any letters that were part of a 0 match guess. If anyone else has a theory on how this might have been done, tell me in the comments, because this was a fun little thought exercise for me. I imagine there's been lots of attempts at this kind of guessing algorithm, but I thought I'd leave my first no research guess out there. And that's as much as I can say on JOSHO. Much like other casual desktop games, there's not a hell of a lot to it, and that's half the point. Something replayable and engaging, which can be put down at any time without consequence. A nice, dependable distraction. And alas, a bit of a smug prick. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or immensely disliked it, there are various YouTube things you can do, thumbs up, thumbs down, subscriptions, all of that jazz. If you really like what I'm doing, there's a Patreon you can pledge money to. It just basically helps keep the lights on here. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.